Dear Venerable Sir, dear Dhamma friends, this is the time we allocated for the question and answer session for the Dhamma discussion. There are some written questions I'll start with, and meanwhile if there are any other statements or remarks from the audience, it's also cordially welcome. The first question goes like this. Can you explain what vitakka and vichara means, and at what stage of insight meditation does it comes? In the Buddhist scriptures there are 4 things mentioned: the materiality, mentality, and the final liberation or the nibbana. And the mentality is cut into 2, the mind and mind factors. So ultimately it becomes 4, the materiality, mental factors, the mind itself, and the final emancipation. Vitakka and vichara come under the mental factors. Later commentaries recognize there are 52 mental factors, and vitakka and vichara are also 2. Vitakka is been translated as applying thoughts. Whenever the mind get a chance, different objects, which object is to be addressed, and the mind is applied to particular object, whether it's a visual object or sound or taste or whatever may be. The applying part is done by the vitakka. Therefore it is called initial thoughts or applying thoughts. And the vichara is the one, first and foremost, taste or feel what it already applied. So it's called discursive thoughts or inquiring thought. So vitakka and vichara both are not naturally coming. As the question goes, that is, someone has, the meditator has to regulate, meditator has to train. For example, when we are sitting and taking the breath as the primary object, at a time there may be some sounds, bodily pains, and the thoughts, and still yet the primary object also there. When such a situation comes, the meditator should know which is to be given the priority. And for example, if he or she clearly understand, now I have some pains, they are not much unbearable, there are some background sounds, they are not addressing me, there are some inner thoughts, they are not carrying any message, therefore I must give the priority to the primary object. Under such circumstances, you can make use this the mental factor called vitakka. That means you are noting it. You are labeling it in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. Like when you are going on, keep on noting as you are making the others insignificant, and let the mind to again and again apply to the desired object or primary object, so that you get a better chance to have to keep the object of meditation face to face. So therefore it is called vitakka. And if you are not monitoring it, if it is not restraining it, the mind go by its own priorities. And I don't know, no one knows whether it is happening due to their own habits, or due to their likings and disliking, or their past karma, or as the other religion people understand, due to the will of the God, whatever may be, it never ceases to exist. It is to apply again and again, and then that decides where the mind is leading, and ultimately if it is a bad thing, you have to bear the consequences. If it's a good thing, you are the one to get the benefit. And knowing that only, the meditation masters, starting from the Buddha, he says that it is a matter of your application, you are implementing, using this vitakka as the tool, apply to the particular object, which is usually a neutral one, again and again. When that is working, we call meditation is good. And in modern the English, it is called noting and labeling. The noting and labeling is what vitakka called. And when the mind goes to the desired object, for example, the in-breath and out-breath, you must make sure it is just going and coming. Instead, you must make sure it is in the in-breath. It is not out-breath, not the thought, not the pain, not the sound. These are the intrinsic and personal characteristics of in-breath. And that is the assurance of the vichara. Vichara means inquiry, or rubbing against the object that you are applying. And when the out-breath happens, you must forget about the in-breath, and you must know now it is in out-breath, and that out-breath is so much difference from the in-breath and the other objects, so much so you are make sure the vitakka vichara, that means meditation is the keep on penetrating, mindfulness is sharpening. But this question can raise in this way. I have to understand in the vitakka vichara and what stage of insight meditation does it, question says, does it comes? You can ask a very intelligent question, at what stage of inside meditation does it drops? Whenever the primary object ceases to exist, subtle, the vitakka vichara drops. Even if you wish, you can't note it because no breath. You can't discriminate the in-breath and out-breath. At that point, you must understand it is dropped. Don't initiate it again and again. Don't try to redo it in a violent way. That is disturbing your concentration. That is the point you must understand. Now the car is in the first gear. Now it has to go to the second gear. When it's going to the second gear, vitakka vichara drops. But naturally, mind goes to the object without your initiative. That is the way the autopiloting starts. That is the way the meditation going to catch the momentum. Even at that stage also you are going to note or label it, then meditation never go to the deep states or deep concentration. So therefore, when at the beginning to make the situation under control, you use these two techniques, two tools, vitakka vichara, basically the vitakka, and make sure vichara is happening. And when that happens, the object come face to face, and then you are bound to see the changes on the object, the evolution of the object. And naturally what happens is then object become subtle and subtle and subtle. The discriminative differences are becoming more and more common, and they are the first and foremost sign is the progress of meditation, vitakka drops, vichara drops. But naturally, mind is keeping up the relationship with the object. At that level, vitakka vichara drops. This is very nicely explained in jhanic experience. At the first jhana, instead of 5 hindrances, you get 5 mental factors, or that's called jhanic factors. Vitakka vichara piti sukha ekaggata. When you are going to the second jhana, you drop vitakka vichara and work with piti sukha ekaggata. That means without effective application of the mind, naturally mind is with the object, and that point vitakka drops. And that very vitakka you made use to bring the absorption, the concentration, improve into the second jhana by dropping 2 of its mental factors or jhanic factors. When it comes from going from the 2 to the 3, the piti is dropping. When going from the 3 to 4, sukha is dropping. So that is a very interesting thing the Buddha mentioned. At the beginning, in order to get rid of nivaranas, or hindrances, you have to make use the army of 5 mental factors, because it's a huge fight. But once you win the game, and when you earn the first jhana, the vitakka vichara become naughty. They start to play hell. There you have to cut off that. The very thing you earned and you got it and it made use, you have to cut off. Then only the second jhana can happen, otherwise, never otherwise. And then the piti become very prominent, and there you have to cut off the piti, knowing the disadvantage, and because sukha is more mature. And then if you wish to go to the fourth, you have to cut off the sukha, then only the equanimity comes. So many good things you have to cut off if you wish to progress, and that is what the difficult thing in the lay life. You never cut off what you earn. You feel it is hard-earned things, so how can I cut off? At the face of better, you never give up good. And then you are in the same whirlpool, rotating in the same thing, telling, I don't know, meditation is stagnating, it is not going, because you are anchored, bogged down in your very good. Or otherwise you are bragging about your good, that is something bad. So that is very common among the meditators than the normal people. It's a contagious disease. Please take care. Don't show your meditation to others. Whenever you are going to talk about your meditation and high class, the meditation philosophies and principles and formulas, other will come to know that you are something wrong. And then only you are making repercussions. We are virtuous beings, they are common beings, and we are something up and all the kind of thing, all the kind of problems. You don't know how to be a normal citizen John. Try to be a citizen John even if you are a meditator. That means you must understand to a certain extent this is a good quality, and then you have to drop it. That is how the rocket is going up to the moon. It has to drop 3 the rockets, burn it and shed it off. Otherwise it can't go. Only the little part go to the moon, called shuttle, until that the big 99% of its weight is dropping. That is the art. That is this thing in the inside meditation. At a time it is good. At the face of better, you have to drop the good. And that very better soon become a good. And you are bound to see a better one. And then at that time, that very better, now it becomes the good, you have to drop it, otherwise you will never reach the good, better. Ever the thing is evolving, going further and further. Therefore, Vitakka Vichara is playing at that very nice game. At the beginning, rescue you from the Nivaranas, or rescue you from the sounds, pain and kind of thing. But later, that very Vitakka Vichara, it is dropping. But I mean, don't hold it. Like when the banana is ripened, the peel you can peel off. There you have to peel it off to see the banana. Eat the banana. If you are eating together with the peel, you will talk nonsense about banana. But once it's matured, only you can peel it off. And then only you can eat the banana. At the young age, you can't. But when ripening means, maturing means, the sheer still layer come into being, then you have to peel it off, then you are eating. So that is like that each and every good character you are developing is bound to drop at the face of another better character. So there, if you do not know, if you are not an opportunist, if you do not know how to bargain with the better, you are ever get bogged down with your own good.
That there is nobody in control. Here, is it at the time it's dropped, the vitakka vichara? Is that what you're talking about at that time? Because vitakka vichara, doesn't that give you a sense of control, that you're willing your mind to do something?
It's a very, very good question. It is not coming very nicely, but I understand the question, I hope. So I will let you know, our mindset before the meditation is no control. We don't know there are some mental factors, there's a mind, there's a matter, there's a nibbana. No one, we are just in pleasure-seeking game. So once you come to understand the sati, the mindfulness, we try to restrain our mind, the moral restrainment, concentration restrainment, and the wisdom restrainment. Vitakka vichara come and the concentration restrainment. And they are, instead of going astray, we are applying the mind to one particular object. There, for the first time, we are employing, we are making use the vitakka, understanding the function of vitakka, we apply the maybe loving kindness, maybe the virtues of the Buddha, maybe the reflection of death or whatever, or maybe your breath. You keep on in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath. Or left, right, left, right, left. So they are training the mind. So it is the commentator itself says, it is like the applying thought is something like for the beginner's mind, you are trying to balance a watermelon on a running horse, on top of the running horse. Soon you drop, it drops. Soon you keep, it drops. Otherwise the Buddha says, if you keep a needle upright and going to pour huge amount of mustard seed upon the upright needle, expecting one seed will be balanced. Never. It is like the applied thought at the beginning. But with that is why many people are dropping meditation, because that mind is not keeping with the particular object. It is very unruly. But after a while, you come to know with the incessant effort, the mind going to listen, and you can keep the breath 2-3 times, as Basati mentioned yesterday, when he's applying this idea to the young children. Try to keep 6 breaths, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means you are trying to keep the breath up to the 6th consecutive breath with applying thoughts, counting. And there you can understand, now it is listening. And when that happens, after a while you can keep the breath for longer time. You can keep the right and left for longer time. You can keep the rising and falling longer time. That indicates now vitakka is working. Then you have to make use the vichara to understand, does my mind recognize the difference between the in-breath and out-breath, difference between the left and the right, the difference between the rising and falling, difference between the seeing and hearing, difference between the hearing and touching. You never let the vitakka to stop at that level, then you employ vichara. Now your mind becomes very discrete, delimiting. This is in-breath, not the out-breath. This is out-breath, this is not in-breath. This is the touch of the nose, not the stomach. And this is the stomach, this is not. All the things going to sort out. And now, once that you give a regular way, after a while, mind itself come up to that habit. Naturally, it goes to the particular object you select. And then, object you can see the evolution. Object becomes subtle and subtle. At a point, the vitakka is happening naturally, so therefore not necessary for you to apply again. At that moment, you must not rush to apply again and again. Just let it happen in the natural way. And the Burmese masters, when they are teaching, this is a very important point in the insight meditation. In the kindergarten level, when you are writing the letters in the blackboard, the kids are coming and they say, this is A. And when the teacher is keeping the ruler onto the A, everyone has to say A. And then she is making to the B. B. Likewise, they have to pronounce it and see the picture, pronounce themselves and hear the sound, and then only they come to know this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. Like. And after a while, without much of sounds, they can understand. By looking at A, without pronouncing, they can understand. At that time also, if you are going to pronounce in a library, you have to understand, no one can read it because one person is applying vitakka again and again in the library. So there you have to understand, after a maturity, the mind catches it. And then onward, A, B, C, D, you can see, and then the words and the sentences and the chapters and the themes, everything going to come. But whenever you have to understand if the mind is unruly, again you have to take it back to the point, sitting, the in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath, the point where the thoughts are going to disturb you, pains are going to disturb you. There you have to discreetly say, no thoughts, no pain, because there is no such a important message there. In-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath. And then soon you can understand, not like the early time, easily mind get magnetized with the object, and object start evolving and subtle. There the noting will be a nuisance. And then you have to drop it off. And that point I find that is the first and foremost lesson in the meditation. Many do not understand how to let go, how to start vitakka vichara, and what is the purpose of vitakka vichara, and once it gathers the momentum, how to let go. So then such a person will ever meditating, they don't know the practical meaning of vitakka vichara, and then for example, the modern this thing nowadays that the cars, when you ignite it, engine, not like the old cars, you won't get much of a vibration. You will just get some lights in the dashboard, and after a while when you go there, you don't know whether the car is at the start or not. If you are going to ignite again, what happens? It's very bad. You have to understand now it is running. Now if you are going to do it, you are burning some of the starter motor or something like that. Because it is not in a running position. Do not do again, then ignite it. Likewise, when the vitakka vichara come into its own momentum, let it happen. Don't try to push again and again. If you are going to push, that you are misusing it, and therefore it is harmful. And not the permanent damage, but the disturbing or the smooth development of the mindfulness and the concentration. So therefore, whenever the vitakka vichara gaining the power, you have to let it work. Exactly that is what when you are raising children. When they are about to take their own responsibilities, parents should withdraw. Then only children understand their own work. But present-day parents, walking fingers, even they become teenagers, going to teach how to do and what to do, then the hatred develops. But if the children to learn their own lesson and not just observe, don't completely give up, just observe whether they are doing. Of course, they are very delayed because they are youngsters, so they will understand, they will catch the momentum. Exactly the vitakka vichara, each and every sitting, you have to master, you have to monitor it. Bhante, if you have a long stretch for walking, can we walk long distance without turning shortly? So this is also that yesterday, as I mentioned, that when you are turning, your this thing will change. Your trend will be broken. So you wanted to continue in order to have this concentration and the mindfulness maybe. This is also possible, and but turning and securing your mindfulness while turning is a lesson, is an exercise, is a task. So therefore you have to bring it there and shake it, and again bring it here and shake it. I mean, now you are turning, you are shaking. That is how you are training your mind for multitask. In your day-to-day activities, your moods are changing, intentions are changing, postures are changing, and time pressure come, everything under such circumstances, how to maintain the balance of mindfulness for longer. So therefore, walking meditation is a pacing up and down. It's not a long walk. But you can put the other way, whenever you have to get a long walk in a day-to-day activities just for a purpose, can we make use that time also to practice mindfulness on walking? That is yes. That is the way you have to improvise. When you are it happened you to walk for another purpose, and no one needs to talk it, and you are only walking. There you can try can I still maintain the left and the right, and then you don't feel tired, it will be a walking meditation as well.
Even though a computer is extremely fast, lightning fast, it can only handle one task at a time. I think our brains are the same way. And yet you mentioned multitasking. I don't really believe that multitasking is possible. We really can only do one thing at a time. So what do you mean by multitasking?
When you are in the simplest way, in your sitting, there may be some sounds, there may be some thoughts, there may be some bodily pains, and still you know what is to maximize that in-breath and out-breath. And the suggestions are there, different ways, and if you know this is my priority, and you must know how to maintain this priority by applying thoughts and discursive thoughts. So therefore, once you are selected, all the others will fade off naturally. Once the mind is get hooked up with that particular task, others drops. But before that, it appear like throbbing and demanding the attention. And when you are walking and go to the turn, and the visual objects is more become prominent, and the mind wish to listen some sounds, and all the kind of thing. And there again, if you know how to select the priority, and this is to maintain your breath, the mindfulness, what you already develop, and there you can secure the priority and come back. And exactly the thing in the day-to-day activities also, you have the time pressure, you have the association with other people, and therefore you can't do simple thing like tightrope walking. The challenges are there. Under such circumstances, selecting the priority is the one way to put the answer for the multitasking. So therefore, you have to understand even the computer, even the lightning, there is a consequence, one after the other. It is called the thin slicing of time. If you know the thin slicing of time, it is happening in order. Even it appears like a multitask. There is no such a thing. It is the mind is working one after the other, even amidst of so much of challenges. If you know the selection of the priority, if you know which is beneficial for you, and if you have prepared mind, no multitask can disturb you. Please discuss about Anicca-patipadda vijnana. This Anicca-patipadda vijnana is not the technical term, and many are criticizing me, telling that I am coining unwanted things. Indriya-patipadda vijnana is a well-accepted term. Indriya-patipadda vijnana is a superficial vijnana that's working basically with the frontal lobe, and it is related with the eye faculty, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the thinking. So it is always stimulated by the external impingements. And whenever these two happen, the ignition happen, and that is what the experience is. But when we are going to sleep, or when we are going to the very deep concentration, the external stimuli stops to come in. But still the mind is working. When that is happening, mind is working on its memory, the library shots, and the distance from the external faculties, indriya, going to happen. And in the sleep, it is only the mistake, it is not awake and not mindful. But once you come up to the subtle layers of the in-breath and out-breath, you just forget about your very body. You are not concerned about the sounds, noise, or visual objects, smell, taste and everything, and mind come to the center. Some kind of a congealing happen, but you are keeping full awakeness, full mindfulness, and there you can feel the mind is centralized, fairly cut off from the faculties, but fearfulness arises, the loneliness arises, the uncertainty arises, boredom arises. And there you have to go prepared. If you wish to experience yet another internal balance of the consciousness, you have to cut through, settle down, let the breath become more and more subtle. Ultimately you can go and have another equilibrium, and this is not completely cut off from the senses. Under such circumstances, you may be like a soldier in the bunker. War is going on, and shooting happen, shell bombs are happening, everything happened, but for the moment he is in a bunker. He is protected. Whenever he prepared himself, he can go to the warfare, the front line, and whenever the problem happen, he can come back to the bunker. So likewise, that in a certain level of concentration, the mind goes to this so-called anindriyapatipadda vijnana, the vijnana which is not directly related with the senses, and there you feel still the inner thoughts are there in the background. There are some sounds, definitely you are not listening to them. And there are sometimes visual objects, mental, and other the bodily pains, but you are fairly get a distance from it. And there you can see, though you listen to those sounds, you behave like a deaf. Though you see the visual objects, you behave like a blind. Though you have bodily sensation, you behave like a paralyzed. Though your mind wish to analyze these things, you behave like a stupid, a fool, person who can't think. Though you have some tendencies to get up and go, you behave like a corpse. And that is the only point you can try this. And that is appear like escapism, but it's a very vigilant living position. And once you go up to then only, it is like a end of the diving board in the swimming pool. Then only you can put a somersault and jump. You have to first go to the end of the diving board. Then you have to feel it's tepul dinawata mokadda කියන්නේ ඉංග්‍රීසි? Spring. Yeah. You can feel the spring. You better understand Sinhala than them. You feel the spring. And you feel you are on the earth, but it is supportive for you to get a jerk and put the somersault and say bye-bye to this thing and jump. So that spring is fearful. That is uncertain. That is, you feel cornered. You feel something unstable. So that is the threat. Those who have heavy egoistic idea feel to come back. Those who have desire feel come back. Those who have the conceit feel to come back to the solid ground earth. That is, you are coming back to the senses. But if you wish to train at the end of the diving board, it's adventurous. You have to sacrifice your egocentric idea or conceit and desire. Then only you will get a chance to jump forward. So, anindriyapatipadda vijnana is not a fully complete state, but you can make use that concept to indicate completely hooked up mind with the senses and completely liberated mind from this sensuous world. Indriyapatipadda is halfway. So in the Vipassana meditation, I would say each and every sitting will be worth calling successful if you can go up to that level and balance there. You can get the equilibrium there. There you can understand for the first time the kind of a rapture, kind of pleasure unrelated with the materiality. There is a kind of a equilibrium, just like a plane go along the runway, and after taking the takeoff, it is taking the balance in the air. And you don't get the jerks. But there may be some low pressure air pocket situation, but different balance. So when that from the runaway to the airborne situation, everyone must be in the tightened belt, even the crew. It has to be listened to the captain. So everything under the captain's control, and once it is taken, then he will release the belt sign, and then you can get up. So daily you have to practice. Daily you have to train your mind how to get the balance in this solid strata, and then to the airborne situation. So that is the way you are training yourself, the conventional truth to the absolute truth. Still you are not completely gone to the absolute truth, but you are preparing yourself, seasoning yourself for that absolute truth. There you have to give up. Give up the desire for your life, the give up desire for your body. So it's a heavy demand, a big ransom. Asking to sacrifice, otherwise you don't entertain that spring. It appears like uncertain, it appears like something, no base. So, Anindriya-Patipadda Vijnana is the term I use, but some people criticize me telling that I am importing unwanted concepts. How does one recognize if one is samatha yogi or vipassana yogi? That is very difficult, just like this, how do you call this, Indriya Patipadda, Anindriya Patipadda. But simply you have to understand, yesterday also we tried to see the base element, ignition element and the striker element. That means base element is your 6 senses, striker element is the external stimuli, and the ignition element is the result of touch of these two, the eye, visual objects and the eye touch each other, seeing happens. Sound and the eardrums touch each other, interact each other, hearing happens. The samatha yogi is always concentrating on the external stimuli. Never go to the base, they are never contemplating on the ignition element. So therefore, whenever the samatha practice happens, the focus is on something external, conceptual. Never something on the experienceable. But the anapanasati can cater for both. Whenever the anapanasati happens, so in breath and out breath, if your attention is only on the air column, that is samatha. If you happen to feel the place, if you happen to feel the difference between the in-breath and out-breath, that is an indication your intention is, your character trait is more towards the vipassana. So whenever the base element and the ignition element going to manifest, that's the indication that the meditation is more towards vipassana, and it is not a heavy requirement also. As far as the mindfulness is there, it is leading. Whether you know it not, whether you know whether you're samatha or you're vipassana, it doesn't matter. Make sure the mindfulness will lead you. Ignition.
Like in the car?
Yeah, I mean when two come together, the spark goes. The spark is known as the ignition. You are hearing very well.
I need help.
Some letters are, these things are little with the small letters I am skipping. So someone has to come and help me. Bhante, please explain what happened to our mind when we are sleeping or anesthesia. That is the thing that fairly we touch when we are talking about this Anindriya-Patipadda Vijnana, and mind goes to certain halfway and cut off from the senses, and it can happen to the concentration, can happen to the drugs, can happen to anesthesia, or due to the sleepiness. The mind cut out the relationship with the superficial senses and the sensuous impingement and mind its own business, become inwardly. And out of these 4 situations, drugs also doing the same kind of thing. Out of these 4 situations, only the Satipatthana leave you to experience the unconnected state will put awakeness. Then you can make use it. When you are in sleep, when you are anesthetized, when you under the influence of alcohol and drugs, you are bogged down there, and your ignorance is not allowing you to experience it, and therefore you miss the bus. But in the mindfulness, it's a very good drug. I would say it is the biggest addiction in the world. Once you given, no one can rescue from you. I mean, drugs, you can go to the Alcoholic Anonymous and get out of you. The mindfulness is, if you have to sell only the first packet, And then you can't get rid of. Because it is giving the same thing but free of charge. And day by day you can go to the deeper layers. More and more you go there, you feel the ecstasy. Not this kind. But here the only important is you can be aware. You can control how much you want to go and come back, and next day go a little further and come back. So therefore it's a kind of a good trip, kind of a good journey. That is because that whenever this anindriya patibaddha vijnana, the consciousness fairly unrelated with this superficial thing like the senses and the impingements, it come to a certain amount of contentment, certain amount of saturation, and it become inalienable and unalloyed. But to the sensuous world, it appears like you are cut off. You are away from the normal senses, so you feel fearful. Specifically those who are brought up in the very luxurious situation, this appear like a lost. Those who have a very big attachment to your body, this appear like a lost. Those who have a very big self-attachment, this appear like a lost. So therefore, there is a kind of a demand to sacrifice your likings and dislikings, your love to your body, and your attachment to your ego. Then only this become an alternative happy state. So therefore, not only meditation, your mental attitude, your approach to it is important. So therefore, in a discussion and behaving with the spiritual people, only that idea will be communicated, not by books, not by listening and not by just theory understanding. Theory will help you to bring to that level, but if you are going to refuse it, then you are at lost. I know that most of the meditators, more than 60%, they are definitely experiencing it, but they have a phobia. They have a fear. Because they have so much of attachment to their likings and disliking, to their body and to their life and kind of thing. So they come back home whenever situation happens. So that is why the faith come into in between. Faith is very important. You have to understand this is the path. This is the way noble friends went forward, and this is the sacrification. Am I ready? The second thing is moral background. If you have any kind of a criticism towards your morality, this is a test. You never feel comfortable. So the faith, the moral background, and the role models. You must see other people, those who are simple living, high thinking. They are not much worried about these luxuries or kind of thing. They are ready to adopt then and there, and they are living happily. That these examples must be there. Together with mindfulness, then one day you will assimilate the combination. Not otherwise. So therefore, nothing like trying. So there are some few questions with the little letters. I will take it after the Dhamma talk. Because I forgot to bring my spectacles today. So thank you very much for listening. And now we are going for the lunch.